songs like Neon Moon and Boot Scoot and
Oh, yeah.
next album, Hard Working Man and Used to Be Mine. Ronnie just had written all these great songs by itself, which, now I can't even tell you.
Brooks and Dunn's is saying goodbye after Ronnie's awfully tragic diagnosis has become a growing concern among fans following a troubling incident at their Indianapolis concert. Recently, Dunn has battled significant health challenges. Despite these setbacks, Brooks and Dunn continues to maintain their relevance in country music. And here's the part that'll give you chills. While this goodbye hurts, there's something profoundly beautiful about how they're choosing to go out. With honesty. With grace. Stay with me, all the way to the end, because what Ronnie says in his final message to fans? It'll stop you in your tracks. Come along. It's April 3rd, 2025, and the Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis is absolutely buzzing. Fans packed the venue, full of excitement and nostalgia, ready for a night of honky-tonk hits, cowboy boots stomping, and that good old Brooks and Dunn magic. You know the kind, their music just wraps you in memories, doesn't it? The lights, the energy, the roar of the crowd, it was all there. But as the night went on, something started to feel off. What started out as a high-energy, toe-tapping show slowly shifted into something a bit more worrisome. And trust me, no one saw it coming. Now, let's talk about the moment everyone's been replaying on TikTok and social media since. It all happened during their encore, the part of the show that's supposed to feel like the grand finale, right? They kicked off Boot Scootin' Boogie, which, come on, is basically the national anthem of line dancing. The crowd was electric, singing along, phones in the air, completely locked into that classic country groove. Then, all of a sudden, right in the middle of the song, Ronnie Dunn, yes, that Ronnie Dunn, backs off the mic and tells the crowd, "Sing it if you know it." At first, people thought he was just letting the fans have their fun. You know how artists do that sometimes. But then he steps back, makes a hand gesture to Kix, kinda like he's saying, "That's it for me," and then taps his chest a few times. His face, ugh, it just said so much without saying a word. He shook his head slowly, almost like he was disappointed in himself, and then he waved goodbye and walked off the stage. No dramatic exit, no fuss. Just a quiet, heartbreaking goodbye in the middle of their biggest crowd pleaser. What if we told you one of country music's most legendary duos is quietly stepping off the stage, forever? And it's all because of something truly heartbreaking that Ronnie Dunn just revealed. Is this really the end of Brooks and Dunn? Or is there more going on than anyone realizes? Hang tight, because what comes at the end might just break your heart. Now, if you were watching closely the whole night, and some fans really were, you might have picked up on the signs. It wasn't just that moment. Earlier in the set, Ronnie wasn't his usual energetic self. During Rock My World, Little Country Girl, he actually sat down on the stage risers. That's not like him at all. I mean, this is the same guy who used to command the stage like a pro, even in his 60s. But that night? He looked tired. Like, bone-deep tired. Fans on social media said he seemed winded, and some even noticed his voice cracking, especially on the high notes. And you know how powerful his voice normally is, right? When that voice doesn't hit right, you just know something's not okay. One fan even posted, he was hurting. You could see it. He looked like he was having trouble breathing. It just broke your heart reading through the comments. Of course, in true country fashion, the show did go on. Kix Brooks, bless his heart, didn't skip a beat. That man is a true professional. As Ronnie quietly exited, Kix kept going, keeping the music alive and the audience clapping. Can you imagine the pressure? But he didn't flinch. He picked up the pieces and carried the show across the finish line. That's decades of partnership right there. Naturally, the moment sparked a wildfire of speculation. The rumor mill went into overdrive. People started asking all the big questions. Is Ronnie Dunn sick? Is this the end of Brooks and Dunn? What's really going on? And honestly, can you blame them? When a performer of Ronnie's caliber walks off stage like that, fans worry. It's not just about the music. It's about the person behind it. The guy who soundtracked your road trips, your heartbreaks, your backyard barbecues. That kind of emotional connection runs deep. So when USA Today finally got a statement from their team, fans were desperate for some kind of answer. The rep said, Ronnie wasn't feeling well from being sick, but Saturday night's show went on as planned. That helped ease the tension a little. But let's be real, anyone who saw that moment live or watched the video online knew it wasn't just a sniffle or a passing cold. That kind of fatigue? That's the kind that comes from something more. And while it's great to hear he pushed through the next performance, it still left a lot of folks with heavy hearts. Because deep down, people are starting to wonder, are we witnessing the final stretch of Brooks and Dunn's legendary run? 1 minute you're clapping along to My Maria, and the next, you're watching one of your musical heroes silently bow out of a song like he just doesn't have anything left to give. That kind of vulnerability hits different. Especially from someone like Ronnie Dunn, who's always had this strong, stoic stage presence. And seeing him so human in that moment, waving goodbye, tapping his chest, shaking his head, it was like watching your favorite uncle tell you he can't make it to the dance floor this time around. You respect it, but you feel it deep. And so now, the buzz around their health, especially Ronnie's, is only getting louder. People aren't just asking, what's the next show? They're asking, should there be a next show? Because as much as fans love the music, they love them more. No one wants to see a legend push himself past the point of no return. We've all seen what happens when artists ignore the signs. So maybe this is the beginning of something different. Maybe it's time for them to rest, to take a bow, and know that their legacy is already cemented. But of course, no matter what happens next, this moment, this very human, very real moment, will be remembered. Not because Ronnie walked off, but because he showed us that even legends have limits. And that's okay. Because sometimes, the most powerful performance is the one where someone says, I need to stop, and the music keeps playing anyway, carried by the love of a bandmate and the roar of a crowd that understands. So yes, the night started with boot scootin' and ended with a heavy heart. But it also ended with respect, loyalty, and a little more humanity than anyone expected. And honestly, isn't that what country music is all about? Behind all that glitz and stage lighting has been a whole storm of health battles that Ronnie's been quietly fighting for months. And honestly, it's a lot. Like, a lot. You know how sometimes life just doesn't let up? That's pretty much been Ronnie's reality lately, and he's 71 now, so it's not like bouncing back is a walk in the park either. So here's the tea. Back in early March 2025, Ronnie got hit hard, like real hard, with a double whammy. Not just COVID, but also strep throat. At the same time. I mean, can you imagine that mess? COVID and strep throat in one go? That's not just a sick day and some soup, it was serious. The poor man had to rest his voice completely for nearly 2 weeks. And for someone like Ronnie, whose entire world revolves around singing and performing, that must have been torture. His doctors put him on antibiotics and steroids, trying to tackle both the infection and the inflammation, but even then, the virus hit his lungs in a way that didn't just go away overnight. He was still having breathing issues well into late March. In an interview he did with Country Music Weekly, he even admitted it straight up, like, I'm still fighting some respiratory issues from COVID. And you could just hear the frustration behind those words, like he wanted to be back to his old self but his body just wasn't cooperating yet. And as if that wasn't enough on his plate, let me rewind a bit, because just a few months before all that respiratory drama, Ronnie had undergone major knee replacement surgery in December 2024. Guess what happened? He was out skiing at his vacation home in Colorado, which, yes, totally sounds like something Ronnie Dunn would do, and bam, he caught an edge on some ice and tore his ACL completely. I mean, phew, can this man catch a break? So that injury landed him in surgery, and afterward, he had a solid 8-week rehabilitation period. He could barely move around at first, let alone put on a full-out country concert. But you know Ronnie, he's old school, stubborn in that classic cowboy way. He insisted on sticking to the Reboot 2 tour schedule, even though he was still doing physical therapy. like literally performing on stage while rehabbing a brand new knee. Some fans even noticed how he was favoring his right leg, using stage risers for support, doing what he could just to keep the show going. I mean, talk about dedication, right? And yes, if you've been to a show recently or watched a clip online, you've probably noticed it. Like, during Neon Moon or My Maria, those iconic songs that once just poured out of him so effortlessly, there's strain now. You can tell he's working harder to get through the choruses. And honestly, who can blame him? He's been through COVID, strep throat, and knee surgery all within a few months. That would take the wind out of anyone's sails, even someone half his age. Now, because fans aren't blind and whispers spread fast, people are starting to wonder, is Ronnie Dunn sick? Like, really sick? And what does this mean for Brooks and Dunn moving forward? Industry insiders are already talking, you know how they are, asking if these back-to-back health struggles might be a sign that Ronnie's thinking about slowing down, or even stepping away altogether. And it's a fair question, right? I mean, how long can you keep pushing yourself like that before something's gotta give? But here's the thing that gets me, through all of this, Ronnie hasn't made a huge deal out of it. He hasn't thrown a pity party or milked the sympathy card. He's just been quietly showing up, doing his best, and still trying to give fans the music they love. Isn't that kind of beautiful in a way? Like, even when his body is literally begging him to take a break, he's still trying to be there for the people who've supported him for decades. Ronnie Dunn always seemed like the strong, quiet one, so when news of his tragic diagnosis hit, fans were absolutely floored. Could this be the reason Brooks and Dunn are stepping off the stage, for good? And what are fans doing now that has everyone talking? If you think you know the whole story, wait until you hear what's really going on behind the scenes. Don't look away, watch all the way through to find out how deep this really goes. Within just a few hours of Ronnie Dunn's sudden exit from the stage in Indianapolis, it felt like the entire country music world hit pause, and all eyes turned toward him. The moment was jarring. One minute he was performing, the next he was gently signaling to his band that something wasn't right. And just like that, he was gone. It was one of those moments that doesn't just sit quietly, it spreads like wildfire, especially in today's world where everything ends up online within minutes. And honestly, can you blame fans for being so concerned? I mean, it's Ronnie Dunn. He's not just a voice in country music, he's the voice for so many people's road trips, heartbreaks, weddings, and Saturday nights. As expected, social media went absolutely wild, but not in the messy way you'd expect. No drama. No gossip spirals, okay, maybe just a little. What really stood out was the flood of love. Fans from all corners of the country, some who had seen the show, others who were just hearing about it, rushed to the comments sections like they were checking in on a close friend. Brooks and Dunn's official Instagram page turned into something that looked more like a virtual prayer circle than a promo page. It was post after post of kind, tender-hearted comments. Things like, sending love and healing thoughts your way, and we hope Ronnie gets well soon weren't just one-offs, they were everywhere. And you know what? You could feel the sincerity in every word. And then there were the longer, more emotional ones, the kind that make you stop scrolling and go, wow, people really care about this man. One person wrote, praying for you, Ronnie. Hope you get better soon, while another said, feel better, Ronnie, with like 10 exclamation marks and enough emojis to fill a whole line. You could tell this wasn't just about a missed concert or a canceled encore. This was about a real human connection. People know Ronnie Dunn. Or at least it feels that way. They grew up with his music. He's been there during the highs and the lows, the heartbreaks and the healing. So when something like this happens, it hits different. Now, here's where it gets even more emotional, because people who were actually at the concert started chiming in with their own experiences. Some shared how incredible the show was even though they could tell something wasn't right with Ronnie. One comment said, you guys were awesome last night in Indy. My first time seeing y'all and definitely was a dream well met. It looked like you were sick near the end though and I hope you get better soon. That's love, right? That's gratitude wrapped in concern. And it wasn't just a handful of fans saying this, there were dozens echoing the same sentiment. The amount of respect people have for Brooks and Dunn's professionalism, even in a moment of visible struggle, was honestly kind of heartwarming. It showed how deeply fans feel connected to these artists, not just for the hits, but for their heart. Now if you thought Instagram was buzzing, wait till you hear what went down on TikTok. That platform blew up. One of the most talked about clips came from radio host Matt Malone, who posted a video capturing Ronnie's emotional exit. In the video, Ronnie encourages the crowd to sing it if you know it, then gestures to his guitarist, almost like saying, "I'm done, you've got to take over from here." The video got over 86,000 likes and quickly became the central hub for all things Ronnie related for the next few days. And I mean, can you imagine being in that crowd? Watching one of your favorite artists power through, only to realize he was in genuine distress the whole time? That kind of stuff sticks with you. What made it even more emotional were the little things, like Ronnie tapping his chest, giving a gentle wave, and walking off without any drama. Just a quiet exit. Dignified. Almost like he didn't want to worry anyone. But of course, that only made people more worried. Another TikTok video showed him sitting on the edge of the stage earlier in the show, visibly uncomfortable. You could see it in his posture, in his movements, he wasn't himself. And just like that, TikTok became a makeshift support group. Hashtags like #PrayForRonnie, #BrooksandDunnForever, and #RonnieStrong started popping up, with fans swapping theories, encouragement, and updates. But not all the chatter was doom and gloom, thank goodness. In the middle of all the concern, some fans came forward with updates that gave people hope. One person said, he played Peoria, Illinois, the following night and absolutely dominated. He's fine. And honestly, that one comment probably saved 1,000 people from spiraling into full-blown panic. Isn't it wild how one little reassurance can shift the energy of a whole conversation? People were just clinging to that news, hoping it meant he was on the mend. But at the heart of it all was a deep, genuine worry for someone they cared about, not just as a performer, but as a person. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway from all this. Ronnie Dunn isn't just a name on a marquee. He's someone people feel like they've known for decades. His voice is the soundtrack to so many lives. So when something feels off, even for just a few minutes on stage, it sends ripples. Massive ones. And in those ripples, what we saw wasn't hysteria or chaos. It was love. Concern. Loyalty. The kind that makes people stop whatever they're doing to write a comment, say a prayer, or share a memory. Because that's what Ronnie Dunn means to them. Maybe it was just a bad night. Maybe it was exhaustion or the tail end of an illness. Whatever it was, the outpouring of love proved one thing: fans will always show up for Ronnie Dunn. And honestly, isn't that beautiful? You've probably already seen the headlines, right? Stuff like Brooks and Dunn are saying goodbye after Ronnie's awfully tragic diagnosis. I mean, talk about a heart drop. People were freaking out, thinking this was the end of the road for the iconic country duo, and it's totally understandable. After all, they've been part of the soundtrack to so many people's lives for decades. But before we all spiral into panic mode, let's take a breath, because thankfully, the real story isn't nearly as grim as it's been made out to be. Actually, it's kind of comforting, and in a weird way, it's also a little inspiring. So here's the tea: Ronnie Dunn wasn't doing too hot after their Indianapolis show, and yes, it caused some real concern. Fans noticed something was off, his energy seemed low, his voice wasn't quite hitting the usual sweet spots, and then boom, he stepped away from the stage. Naturally, people assumed the worst. And honestly, when someone like Ronnie, who's always been so consistent, takes a sudden break, how can fans not worry? But the good news came quickly, and thank goodness for that. Their publicist put out a clear, calming statement to shut down all the swirling rumors. And honestly, we needed that clarity. They said Ronnie's been resting and is doing way better now, and the issue was respiratory related, not life-threatening at all. Doesn't that feel like a weight lifted? I mean, how many of us were holding our breath thinking the worst? The statement was pretty reassuring, too. Apparently, after some proper downtime and treatment, Ronnie's bouncing back just fine. The doctors are happy with his recovery, and most importantly, the man himself is feeling a lot better. Now, is he still on the mend? Yes. But is this some tragic farewell? Absolutely not. Because we do forget sometimes that these legends are human too. They've been grinding for nearly 40 years, 40. That's a whole lifetime for some people. Isn't it kind of incredible they're still out there doing it? Anyway, the best part? The tour isn't going anywhere. The Reboot 2 tour, yes, the one that's got fans pumped all over North America, is still on. No cancellations, no drama. Just a couple of legends adjusting things a bit and keeping the music alive. The tour's going strong all the way through November 2025, which is amazing news for anyone who's been planning to catch a show. I mean, can you imagine the heartbreak if they pulled the plug? But no. They're not going out like that. And let's be real, Brooks and Dunn have never been the type to let a little bump in the road slow them down. They've weathered way bigger storms, and this is just a pause. A little deep breath before the next big note. Of course, behind the scenes, they're being smart about it. They've made a few thoughtful changes to make sure Ronnie gets what he needs while still giving fans a great show. Like, some of the set lists have been trimmed down just a tad, not so much that you'd miss your favorite songs, but enough to give Ronnie those needed breathers. They've also brought in some extra backup vocalists, which honestly adds a whole new layer of harmony. And let's not forget about how they're staging things now. Ronnie gets a bit more space to rest between those high-energy numbers. It's these little tweaks that show just how much they care, not just about the performance, but about each other too. Isn't that the kind of bond we all want in life? What in the world happened to Brooks and Dunn? One minute they're lighting up the stage like always, and the next, Ronnie's heartbreaking diagnosis has fans in tears and asking if this is the end for good. But before you assume it's all over, stick around, because the truth behind what's next for them might just surprise you in the best, or worst, way possible. You'd think that after decades in the country music game, like, literal decades of hits, tours, and awards, these two legends might be thinking of slowing down, right? Like, maybe buying a ranch in Montana and just chilling with guitars and whiskey on a porch somewhere. Well, surprise surprise, not even close. Word on the street, and by street, I mean some very trusted industry insiders, is that Brooks and Dunn are not hanging up their hats anytime soon. No. In fact, they just renewed their recording contract. Can you believe that? At this stage in their career, when most folks are thinking about retirement plans and rocking chairs, these two are doubling down on the very thing that made them legends in the first place, the music. Now let's talk about Ronnie Dunn for a sec, because his name's been buzzing lately, and not for the reasons fans were hoping. If you've heard whispers like, is Ronnie Dunn sick? Well, yes, that question's been floating around, and unfortunately, it's true. He's been battling a few health issues. But here's the part that really tugs at your heart, the man has still been showing up. He's been pushing through, probably when most people would have just called it quits for the day. One insider, someone super close to the duo, even said, Ronnie just needs to pace himself. And honestly, that makes sense. He's not in his 30s anymore, he's in his 70s, and performing night after night. That's not a walk in the park, no matter how many years of experience you've got under your belt. And let's be real for a second, can you blame Ronnie for not wanting to let people down? That kind of loyalty to fans, it's rare. He could easily take a step back, disappear for a bit, and people would still love him. But no, he keeps showing up. He keeps singing. He keeps giving his all, even when his body might be saying, hey, maybe take a break. That kind of commitment? That's not just professionalism. That's heart. That's someone who truly loves what he does and knows how much it means to the people who followed Brooks and Dunn from the very beginning, from the boot scootin' boogie days to now. So, what's the plan going forward? Honestly, it looks like more music, more shows, and more memories. Just maybe with a slightly more mindful pace. And you know what? That's okay. Actually, it's more than okay, it's admirable. Because who says legends have to go out with one final bang? Maybe they just keep going. Maybe they just keep showing up, song after song, tour after tour, moment after moment, because they love it and because their fans still show up too, year after year. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content.